All right, here we go. You're listening to the Pure Athlete Podcast, the show where we're always going to deep dive into conversations, topics, information, education, linking it back to student athletes and their parents, just giving better resources. Like we say every time, I said on the last episode, I'm just going to keep beating this home, but that's really what we want to do. So we're just going to talk about some current events. We're going to go through and talk about some deep dive conversations and topics as well. But first thing, if you would, go ahead and like the podcast, subscribe. Make sure you leave us some feedback, comments, put some questions in there, maybe some topics you'd like us to cover. And if you would, let us know how you found the podcast. If you if somebody referred you to it, if you found it via Google. We don't run ads on this. We don't sell anything other than our merch, which 10% of that goes to mental health services or a mental health account to provide services for student athletes. Yeah. So that's super fun. But go ahead and like and subscribe. Let us know. Give us some feedback. But what's going on in Erin's world?
Well, there's a lot going on, I feel like. We're in 2024.
Yep.
So new year, new beginnings for a lot of things.
The Erin Ruggieri herself, the AT, is going to Chicagoland this coming weekend.
Yes, this weekend I will be in Chicago, and your wife also has competition here. So we are in the busy times of the year. We've
had a lot of dance world that has come to really enjoy what we've been providing for student athletes. Yeah. I love that dance world, obviously married into it, so it's super cool to see them take action. But now their coaches start to take action with, oh, I heard the podcast, or hey, I love what you guys are talking about. Tell me more. What else can you guys do? So that's super fun. Yeah. How was Christmas?
Great. Spent time with the fam.
Did you wear your Grinch outfit?
No, I have matching pajamas.
Oh, you changed?
Hey. Did you wear your Grinch outfit?
Yeah, no, Ebenezer outfit.
But yeah, it was good. Ready to get back and ready to rip for 2024.
I think just about every day the past week we've been at the ice rink with the boys. So that was, I mean, my legs, you think a leg day is bad. Go skating 5 days in a row for 2 hours at a time.
It's cross-training.
Yeah, exactly. Well, those boys are going to be plenty cross-trained, that's for sure. So that's been super fun. We are in full hockey mode at our house as far as what we are into between hockey and dance. That's what we're doing. But let's jump in. Yeah. We've got a couple of conversations as we kick off 2024. Hope you've enjoyed some of the guest podcasts. Yeah. We're trying to drop our guest podcasts on Fridays. Our regular Pure Athlete podcast will be consistently on Wednesdays. Yeah. So we've had a couple great guests. Last week's was great going into the new year with Lexi, the First Form Athlete of the Year for 2023. We've got another one coming out this Friday, which is going to be super good. Might have been a MLB All-Star. So that's going to be an awesome podcast. So, but let's go through today and start off with, bowl games were the hot topic.
I was going to say there's a huge, I feel like the best part about Christmas and New Year's is the bowl games. I don't know about anyone else's family, but that's what we're watching on Christmas. Yeah. Yep. But so the big one in our area was Mizzou won the Cotton Bowl against Ohio State. That was a very intense game to watch. Yeah. It's also kind of an aggravating game to watch. Yeah. People weren't really playing their best.
Producer Sam was there.
Yeah.
Producer Sam was there.
Live in action.
Producer, director. I think she was stunned for words for most of the text messages and pics that we got.
You guys. As an avid Mizzou fan, it was probably one of the best things I've ever seen. Yeah. It was great.
Well, I'll tell you what, like that first half, like I was like, oh no.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
Like there was so many people saying like this game's too big for Mizzou. And for those of you that this might be your first podcast, we try not to talk about our local teams on purpose. But when there's good stuff in the news and stuff like this, so Mizzou's about 90 miles away from us. We've kind of briefed that on another podcast. Sam's an alum from there. We have a lot of clients that travel back and forth when they're in town. We see them, or people from Columbia who come here for school. Yeah. So, but a lot of people saying that game's too big for Mizzou. And the first half, it looked like it. And so, but turned it around, ended up pulling it out. What did you think of the game?
I thought it was great. I think it's cool that They even were in the Cotton Bowl. I mean, yes, it might have been too big, but it's also okay that it kind of took them a half or so or 3/4 to kind of turn it on. Because, I mean, it is a bigger environment than they ever have had before. And then against playing, like you're playing Ohio, who has such a legacy and a history with it. I think it's just cool that they got to stand next to them and play. And then they won.
Well, and the game film from that.
Yeah.
That, now that I'm thinking about this just off the top, is it's like, we could do a whole deep dive on this. But because of how the game went, just think of all of the learning that they're going to have on that game film.
Yeah.
Because that game should have definitely gone the other way.
Right.
Not that Mizzou should have won that game no matter what.
Yeah.
I think it could have been played better on both sides, but that's sports. It happens. Ohio State had a lot of people sitting or opting to sit, which is a whole nother conversation. Put that in our deep dive. Somebody in particular, I'm not going to name names or out people, but the conversation of sit, why, why are you sitting, why are you there? But a lot of this game film that they're going to get because of that, they're going to learn so much. Here's why I think that's important and why a lot of athletes should, again, as I'm always talking about perspective, but look at the deeper meanings of this, is they're having a huge transfer class right now. They just transferred that offensive lineman, I think, right? That offensive lineman from Oklahoma is coming in. They made the bowl game. They came out with it. Their coach is beloved. Like, they've got a great roster, and they're adding to it. So everything, it's like the worst case scenario happened in that bowl game. And now you just correct it, fix it, and don't do it again. Yeah. So that was. I'm glad they pulled it out though. So that was my pick.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. And then the next big bowl game, there was two. So Michigan and Washington are now going to be playing next Monday for the national championship. I don't know if anyone caught those games, but I was up till midnight watching because it's work study. I have to. So the Michigan-Alabama game.
You don't enjoy it at all.
No, not at all.
As I'm getting text, are you seeing this game right now? This is a podcast topic.
It's like I have to stay up and watch it. But anyway, both of them came down to like the wire, which was, I mean, I love watching football in general. Everyone's always like, who are you rooting for? I'm like, oh, I'm just rooting for football. Like, I love football. But these games were so good. Like, the competitiveness of it. Yeah. Obviously, they're both top tier teams. All of them, all four are top tier teams. That's why they're in those bowl games. But Michigan and Washington's going to be a great game.
Washington, I feel like over the past 5 years, has been very on the radar, yet still under the radar.
Yeah.
Like I'm more into college sports than I ever have been.
Yeah.
Not because of this, but just because I have boys now, and my wife loves watching it all of a sudden too. So, but over the past 5 years or so, I was like, what, Washington?
Yeah.
Really?
I know, it's just like, so not random, but kind of. Yeah.
But good for them. Good for their program for I don't know what they've got going over there. I don't know if it's a great draft or transfer class or recruiting class, or if it's the staff, or I think it's probably got to be all the above.
Yeah.
But good for them. 100% good for them. It's going to be on the Michigan side. I'm glad they won, considering all the turmoil they've went to, the he said, she said, did they cheat, did they da-da-da-da. I'll tell you what, there's not many teams that aren't doing some level of those things. It's like, picking off signs and doing this. It's like, if you literally have a whole film crew at somebody's practice, different story. Right. But all things considered, for their interim head coach, while Harbaugh could not be on the field, to take them through and finish off an undefeated, to continue the undefeated season. And then I thought Harbaugh wasn't on the sidelines for the bowl, and I saw him out there, like, oh, all right.
Yeah, he was there.
So I've always been Harbaugh fans as they've traveled across the NFL. I just like their intensity. I like how they coach. I like their ass pats and high fives and how they lead. But so I'm not here to debate did he or didn't he. No big deal. But I'm glad Michigan pulled it out, because that was looking like it was going the exact opposite direction as well.
Yeah, for a while there, I was like, uh-oh. And then all of a sudden it was tied, and then we were in overtime. It's like, oh, gosh.
It's like, what are we doing here? I mean, I've kind of gone on record saying I'm also an Alabama fan. I'm a Nick Saban fan. Yeah. I have long family that did graduate from Alabama. I'm not married. The only person I'm married to is my wife. So I'm not married to really any teams. But I was like, well, here they go. Now, to open the can, I will honestly say everything has turned out the way people thought it would. Didn't like it, but the bowls have been great.
Yeah.
What was the score of the Florida State game?
Oh, I don't know the actual score.
I think it was like fucking
63 to 3.
I was going to say it wasn't pretty.
63 to 3.
Now, with that, it's like, oh, well, they sat people, this, that, and the other. It's like, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But I hate it. I hate what happened to Florida State for what it looks like on paper.
Right.
However, I don't really agree with them playing the ratings and making sure it's like at some point in time, the records have to hold up. Mm-hmm. And if they get beat 163 to 3 against Michigan, then that's what happens.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at it from the rating side and the experience and the environment and what they're putting out, it's been a hell of a bowl season for sure.
Yeah, I think the other topic about all of this is obviously Dance World over here. All these like big.
Yeah, let's talk about
I love it. All of these huge schools that all of their teams are playing bowl games, are traveling. It's not just like a home game. It's a whole event. There's pep rallies. There's events before the game leading up. It's
a whole vibe, as they say.
I feel like it's like a Thursday through Sunday like situation. But the dance teams for that team and the cheer teams as well are traveling with them, and most of them are attending nationals in about 2-3 weeks, which is wild to me. And I also think it might sound wild to me because I'm not used to it. Like if you're going to an Ohio, a Minnesota, an Alabama, even a Michigan, you know that's what your schedule's going to look like. You put that into your calendar, but like, I just can't even imagine going to these games and then like coming back and having nationals practices and then going to football games. So it's just incredible.
Yeah. And what I love about that too is it's like oftentimes we think, well, we want to protect. It's like, man, we got, if we've got less than 3 weeks or 4 weeks to nationals. It's like, well, we can't travel. It's like, no, to hell with that. Yeah. It's like good. So good on them. And I don't know if that's the stock standard schedule for them. Like if we go, if they go, we go.
Right.
But I'm just glad they were there because a lot of people could have your perspective on it. It's like, man, let me say this. I love your perspective on it because you're like, the fact that they are there is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people say, man, that's cool, but I can't believe they're there. They've got nationals. It's like, well, it's not always about you.
No.
Like you're there to support and be and put on a show and entertain as a part of the sports.
Yeah.
And so be there.
Yeah,
Love
and
it.
even like the memories that they get to take from that. Like nationals is not the end all be all. State is not the end all be all. Like the memories is what's going to last. Like that would be so cool to be on the field for a bowl game.
Yeah. Could you imagine like either Michigan or Washington's dance team, cheer team having to stay at home because they have nationals in 2.5 weeks and then their team goes and wins the BCS?
Yeah, no.
It's like what?
Yeah.
What?
But no, I think that's so cool. There's a girl on TikTok. Obviously, these dancers are all on TikTok, but they were like posting like, okay, I'm getting ready at 5 a.m. for this pep rally, like full performance makeup ready, the red lips, the fake eyelashes. And then she's like, okay, and then we're coming back at 11, like wiping it all off. We're on a bus to go practice for nationals. Okay, now we're getting ready for the game. I was like, that is commitment right there. And it's not just them, too. Like Chicagoland this weekend where I'm going, there's a college team who they had to wait see if their basketball schedule would allow them to go compete in Chicago. So they last minute were like, oh, our team's not playing on Saturday. We can go to Chicago. But like that's what you are first. You're a school ambassador first before you are like a competitive team.
Yeah. So let me ask you this as I continue to get off track here a little bit because I think this. Well, I know this can translate across multiple sports. So for those of you that don't know, we are huge advocates of things like gymnastics, cheer, dance. They are athletes as well.
Yeah.
They have a same rigorous schedule, the workouts. If you wanted to classify them, we classify them as artistic athletes. Mm-hmm. But let me ask you this, as a coach with multiple national championships, both as dance or player, we'll say player and coach, how do you with those teams like in Ohio State?
Yeah.
These teams are like class act dance colleges.
Mm-hmm.
How do you as a coach make sure with all of this going on, like what's the mindset as a coach to make sure that they perform well? It's like, because at some point in time, like I do believe there's a conversation like, look, ladies or guys, some of them do have guys on the dance team. It's like, look, team, we're going. Want you to have a lot of fun. This is a great experience life-wise. We would teach them to like, you never know who you could meet.
Yeah.
here's the mentality, but keep in mind this is on the way to our bowl game.
Yeah.
How do you go about that as a coach from a dance perspective?
I mean, I think from that's all strategy. You need to be like planning ahead for that. And so there's certain things that you're going to want to do while you're at home. You're like the full outs you're going to want to do at home. You're not going to want to do all of that rigorous stuff that like the physical preparation really shouldn't be done on the road. Yeah. So the road should be more for the mental preparation, the like relating to your song, like the little stuff that teams do that makes like the big difference. That's what should be done on the road versus like the physical strenuous workouts and all that stuff, because they're already going to be doing it. Dancing at a game is enough. Like that's going to be helping them to their goal, and it's also not going to feel like it is, but it will pay off.
And this is where too, it's especially in dance, and like I love at least trying to give a pep talk and giving perspective to teams, but taking the opportunity as a coach to instill into their mind and the culture of the team, like this game that you're performing at, this bowl game, Cotton Bowl, Sugar Bowl, Rose Bowl, wherever.
The Pop-Tart Bowl.
The Pop-Tart Bowl. This is practice.
Yeah.
And practice should always be harder than the game.
Exactly.
So if you're going to mess up at a bowl game. Like that's fine. But do that en route to be better for your championship, for your bowl game. And so let me ask you this too, as far as the relationship and how you would carry yourself as a coach in these situations. What does that look like? Not so much the full outs and the practice schedules and things like that. What is your demeanor with the team? Are you more kind of even keel at that point and let them love the process? Are you more stern? Is it very strict? Is it very curfewed? Like what is the personal coaching side with these athletes?
Yeah.
With this kind of time frame.
Yeah, I mean, with that kind of time frame, I mean, it's easy to take the road of being the stern coach, but also at the same time, anything that you're going to be doing, you're going to then affect their memory of a bowl game. You're not just coaching them at that point, you're having them experience those things. So letting them go to the after like celebrations and the pep rallies and all of that like stuff, and you can't, like, you need to be the supportive parent in that time and not the stern coach. Because that's not your job right then.
You can't date him.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to anyway.
Yeah. No, like you should be the coach taking their picture of the confetti whenever they win. Like you need to be that person creating the memories for them versus like taking the easy way out, which is the stern route.
Right. Yeah. Either don't bat an eyelash and turn the other way, or being super stern, super strict, and putting all the confinements. I would agree personally. Yeah. I'm sure some people would handle it differently. Yeah. I think there's definitely some structure that goes along with that, but we say it all the time, and we talked about this on another podcast. But we do say it all the time. Like they are people first. Like, and they are young. They still need coached. Like, hey, check it out. You guys aren't going to be trashed on camera. I don't want to see you on bar stools and on TikTok and stuff just hammered, and like be responsible.
Yeah.
You guys are 18 to 24 years old.
That's the point I was about to say. Like they are college kids. So you can try to coach them all you want, but at the same time, if you're taking them to a bowl game, they're going to do things that they want to experience. So you might as well just experience it with them versus hearing about it afterwards.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. And I love what you said. You don't want to taint their memory of a bowl game and something that is pretty freaking cool. Like not many people get to do that. And honestly, that's what they're there for.
Yeah.
They're there to perform. They're there to hype up the crowd. That's what they want and love to do. They deserve to celebrate and be coached to how to handle that.
Yeah, and it's also like in the schedule of preparing for like their bowl game. I love how you said that, like their nationals. That is also a time to like relax and be like, hey, it's not all just about nationals. Like there's so much pressure put on a bowl game, a nationals, a state championship, but that's not really what matters. It's the road leading up to it. I always tell my girls, like, your performances are the cherry on top.
Yep.
Everything else, like, that's the meat and potatoes right there. But like the cherry on top is you just going and performing. So like same thing here, them going to a bowl game and doing sidelines, and usually don't like do halftime or anything there, but you're still there doing sidelines, and that's you practicing for nationals, because if you compete like game day at nationals, that's literally what you're doing.
Right. Yeah, and what a crowd. I mean, and arguably a more electrifying environment. Yeah. Not that it's any different, more prestigious. I mean, you're comparing apples to oranges. Right. Well, they go down to Daytona, but the environment, the feel, like it's electrifying to be in the Rose Bowl with how many tens of thousands of people. Some of these stadiums holding almost 100,000 people now. It's crazy. Yeah. Like that's electrifying. But the one thing I would say and that I would hope all athletes can kind of pick out of this is, at the end of the day, no different than a competition or in a game, when you go and celebrate these things and you're part of these things, make sure, whether you're a parent talking to the athletes or whether you're an athlete potentially listening to this, is be very mindful of what you do, because there's a lot of temptations. And one wrong play by one athlete can ruin the whole thing, even away from the competition. So it's like, one person goes down during a competition, that's going to affect your score, and you might be out of the ball game. One person goes down, does something stupid, ends up half naked on bar stools, that could ruin the outcome of. So it only takes one. So be there for your athletes and for your student athletes, and those that you coach. Make sure they're aware of that. And if you're in a precarious situation, be mindful. And if you see one of your teammates in a precarious situation, it's like, oh, let her do her, let him do him. Like, hey, it's their choice. It's like, no. At the end of the day, there's accountability there. Yeah. And that will show a good team culture. So, but I love it. Yeah. I love that they're there.
Yeah. The other big thing in women's sports this week is they actually created a professional women's volleyball and a professional women's hockey. They're both in their inaugural seasons this year right now. So that's super cool for women's sports. I mean, we were talking about this before we started recording, but one of my friends from college, she was also an AT major. She's a really cool person. Yeah. She played hockey at Lindenwood, and then she moved back to Canada. So now she's playing there, and she is in this league right now. So
nice.
Freaking cool.
Well, it's like, I don't know about you guys, but like even in the Summer Olympics, like a lot of people watch swimming and volleyball. Right. Like watching Misty May Trainer and, who was her partner? It was Misty May and buddy of mine, Brad Glowacki, is a doc in Huntington Beach. He sees both of them. I don't know why I'm blanking. Misty May and, but it was so much fun, and to watch those. I mean, volleyball in general, it's like, what a great sport to watch. Yeah. It can be a lot of fun. Carrie Walsh and Misty May Trainer. Thank you. But good for them. Yeah. That's been a long time coming. Beach volleyball, or is it beach? Is it team? Is it?
It's indoor. Like NCAA.
Volleyball.
Full squad.
Yeah. Full squad. That's awesome because, they deserve that. And to see some of... To see these professional sports end up in the women's arena, or the women ending up in the arena of professional sports is very, very good to see too. And I hope there's a lot of traction with that. I hope there's a lot of support from that, because there's a lot of kids nowadays that I feel like that's the one area that kids nowadays are catching up on is, like, we were with the boys at the ice rink, and then afterwards on the other rink across the way there, they had some, like probably 13 U teams playing. Yeah. And there were 6 girls between the 2 teams on the ice with them. I'm like, hell yeah. Yeah. But it's not that, they're going to do it and go play with the guys. That just shows you how many young women are wanting to do more of this, and to give them the platform to play at the next level. Whether or not they get paid the same doesn't freaking matter. We're not there yet. But the fact that it's they're on the ice, they're on the court on a professional aspect, super cool. Yeah, I mean, it was Nebraska this year who their volleyball team like packed the entire Memorial Stadium for a volleyball tournament. Yeah. So, I mean, yes, they deserve to, clearly. Absolutely. They can pack it just like any other sport. I would love to get some of the power players, and there's so many of them. Not for the sake of the feministic properties and the women's no. All that aside, I love watching talent and picking out talent. I just love seeing it. But, to get people like Caitlin Clark, Diana Taurasi, you can go back like Lisa Leslie. I mean, there's a lot of basketball was kind of the trend for what you're seeing now. The Misty May Trainers, the Carrie Walsh, the Mia Hams, and get all of them together to continue to support this, I think would be super cool. And it wouldn't surprise me if you see some of these women like that come out and support, which is very, very cool to see. Yeah, because Texas just won the women's volleyball championship. That does not surprise me. So. If I remember right, I think Texas is one of like the it always really has been. So that was their 4th Everything's NCAA bigger in Texas. Title. Yeah. Them girls are trees. You'd think they were in Northern California. Yeah. Like they are athletic, they are tall, they are powerful, and a lot of the women who play volleyball obviously are. But one of their players is the #1 draft pick for the volleyball league. So perfect. That's exciting.
Let's go, sister.
That's super cool. What else we got? Where do we want to go from here?
Well, I think there's some things that Sam wants our opinion on over there.
Okay.
Hit it.
Football. Playoff football is upon us. The intensity of playoff
That's
football,
already started.
Right, is upon us, not just in bowl games, but in the NFL as well. And I was watching games this weekend, and I noticed a theme, and it was intensity.
Yeah.
And so much intensity that it's almost like...
They're like clearing benches.
Yeah, almost just brawling, basically.
There was a game this weekend where it's like nothing really came of it. It was a lot of like, I don't know, ego flex, you know? But there was a game where, like, I want to say they were damn near in the end zone. It might have been, it was the Chiefs and Bengals game, actually.
That was a heated one.
Yeah. And nothing really came of it. So if we want to go in a deep dive on this, I mean, this is something where I do get on a little bit of a soapbox because at the end of the day, like, I love intensity. Like, I am an intense person. Huge heart, very intense, and, you know, we're all competitive, especially now. Like Sam said, it's like we're heading into the prime, the bowl games, the playoffs, the Super Bowl. You know, no matter what sport you're in, this is kind of a prime time for next level stuff, no matter what arena you're in.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like if you're egging people on to make a move, like if you're being manipulative, like it's one thing to try to like draw somebody off sides and to try to get under people's skin and get a flag called, but if you're going to maliciously and aggressively and physically change from sport physical to fight your ass physical, see ya, like gone.
Yeah, I think the perfect example is Crosby. He plays defense. Yes.
Yeah,
so
for the Raiders.
Yes. So he, every play.
I want him on my team
dude,
every day.
he is sick. But he, every play, will touch the quarterback no matter what. And so I was watching Hard Knocks, actually. Can't recommend it enough. I love it. But they, like, prepare for that.
Tua was like, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, because every time that's what he does to get under your skin. So, like, the perfect example of that is, like, that's good rivalry. That's good confidence, cockiness, whatever the edge you want to say the word is. But the other side of it is, like, the tweets and the, like, media, like, all of that stuff. It's not worth it. And if that was someone on my team, you'd be cut.
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with it. Like, I am very competitive, as we all know. But, like, I will not be the person to slander someone on social media or X, Twitter, you know, any of that.
Yeah, I love an edge, like you said. I do. I love an edge, but if you're going to be manipulative, if you're going to potentially cost your team a game, but if you're going to be manipulative and just outright, you know, just angrily physical, it's like, no, I don't have room for that either.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. And so I hope that there's some control in that going forward, because here's the thing too, linking it back to what we talk about all the time is you have, you know, 6 to 16-year-olds beyond watching this.
Right.
And it's like, well, that's okay to do. It's like the Chiefs came back in that game and it was like they were up and then all of a sudden they were down and it's like, okay. And then they go back up and like, I get why the Bengals would be upset. And it's like that they took them right out of the playoffs, I believe, right? Now they're no longer.
Yeah, no, they're done.
It was a breaking game for the Chiefs because they won the AFC. If they'd have lost to Denver, there's a lot that could have happened there. But for that to be the answer, it's like, look, bro, you didn't lose that today.
Yeah.
How were you involved in that 6 weeks ago?
Right.
Like, Joe Burrow went down. No, that's an excuse.
Yeah.
That's an excuse. Like, what could you have done better? How could you have led different? So now you're going to resort to, so let's see if I can get a flag, or let's just see if I can make a name for myself by, you know, picking at somebody smaller, bigger. Doesn't matter who it is. It's like, so, but you've got these kids watching this like it's okay to respond like that. I don't think so.
Yeah, something I've always told middle school to college kids that I've coached is, like, competitiveness is great. It keeps you going, whatever. But if your character is compromised in that competitiveness, then it's not competitive. You're just losing yourself. And so, like, it is 100% okay to be like, yeah, I'm not worried about them, blah, 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 blah. But, like, also, are you just talking a big talk? Like, you have to be able to back it up. And if you can't back it up with good character, then it's not worth it.
Right. Yeah, 100%. So I do hope that there is, like, for me, like, it's not going to happen this way, but for me, it's just like, it's almost zero tolerance.
Yeah, no.
Like, it's one thing to be chippy after a play, but to like go out of your way to create that. Like, nope, gone, misconduct, see ya, fined, and out for a game, at least. You do it twice, you're out for half the season. You want to do it after you come back from that, you're gone.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, too, I hope the organization evaluates, like, all right, is this our culture? Is this what we want? Because at the end of the day, it's like, it doesn't matter how good looking somebody is. It doesn't mean you have to marry them based on their looks.
Right.
Like, there's so much more that goes into that. How is that compromising the rest of the team, the culture, and is there a better fit to be in that position? So.
Yeah, I love how you brought up the culture, because that just impacts the locker room. It impacts the dressing room. It impacts everything. Like how you're viewed and how people are going to view your team outside of, like, yes, it doesn't matter. People think of you, but it also kind of matters if they get a bad rap of your whole team based on one person's actions.
That's what I was just going to say too. It's like sometimes, like, no, these teams have been around a long time. Like, the Bengals are a brand. Yeah. Every team is a brand. That shit speaks larger than a brand very instantly. Not long term, but sometimes that's all it takes. So now what if like some of them, Cincinnati people are like, oh man, they're like on the edge of Cincinnati and Cleveland or dare I say Pittsburgh. And it's like, well, you know what? If that's the way who they're going to have on this team, it's like that fast, like they make a decision and they switch. So sometimes if that speaks louder than a brand very acutely, it's AT speak there.
Yeah.
It's speak acutely, very acute, quick.
Yeah, I mean, it's no different if like you call customer service for a company and you have a bad experience, and you're gonna have a bad taste in your mouth about the whole company based on your one experience with one person.
But there's 32 other teams out there that you can pick to enjoy.
Yeah.
It's like,
just switch your jersey out. You're good.
So I hope all that's taken seriously. And I just, if I could ask anything of any professional league, is it's like, make sure you monitor what you're putting out there and what's allowed and how it's punished, because you have a lot of kids looking up to that.
Yeah.
And you can see a lot of that in these kids very, very quickly. So let's build them better.
Yeah.
Grow them better.
Yeah. So like the difference between cocky and confident. I know this is a big topic that we love to talk about, but it's also the difference between arrogance and confidence. Like, it's basically what we've been talking about this whole time. I mean, there's a difference between being able to back it up and being confident and just being all talk.
Yeah, I'll be honest, like, this is something that I struggled with for multiple different reasons. And because of that, I know I'm not the only one. So I'm going to speak on it because I think I was a little bit mistaken, but I think I was very much acting in a way that I wish was handled differently. I'd get so ultra focused, and I'd watch the people that I love to watch, and I'd get so competitive and so in myself. Like, I was never upset with how the team performed. I always thought I could have done better for the team, which can be toxic. Like, holding yourself to a higher standard, great. I can't say I was ever really cocky, but I was a big attitude on the team, right and wrong, like on both sides. I was a knife's edge, and like, oh, what are we gonna get out of Boston today?
Yeah.
And I wish I'd have learned sooner, because, like I said, I don't think I was cocky, but maybe a little bit arrogant. And I'm not sure which is worse, and I don't want to grade them because I don't think I want the honesty. Now it's something that I kind of grabbed hold of, and I kind of picked out as I was growing up, and like, ooh, I either got to cool it back, or I've got to figure out how to have better conversations with my team, or have my team understand where I'm coming from, or literally ask for help. Like, hey, if I do this, like, try to redirect me. Because that is huge. Confident and cocky very quickly. If somebody's very good at something, and somebody wants to celebrate the good things that they do, by all means, great. But that can, no fault to them, can lead people to raise an eyebrow right off the bat, because you are that good, because you are in the limelight, because you're celebrating the things. And if there's any insecurities, inadequacies on their part, it's automatically going to put you in a dimmer light. But at the same time, too, there was something that I was coached on way far too late, is also, how am I involved in that? Am I giving off some of that as well? And if I do, I want to know about it. Unfortunately, during my team times, and a lot of my teammates will tell you, I mean, you can go through my baseball team. We had that second grade to forever team. We won the state tournament. But I think a lot would tell you, like, whoa, Boston, like, good. Love that he's on my team, but man, I wish, and that's cool. I know that now, which is why I want to bring that up and let these athletes and coaches know, like, sometimes if you have that athlete, let's redirect them, let's coach them through it, or let's find them resources if you're not the right person to do it, because cocky, confidence, arrogance, is all great. It's like a Long Island iced tea. It could be very, very good,
or it can be very,
in the right portions.
Yeah.
Or you could put everybody on their ass in a hurry.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was like very realistic. Like I knew that if I had a dance that was bad, and I was like, all right, here we go. But I also like was the first person whenever I knew we were like good. I was like, literally all we have to do is just do what we know how to do. Like that was always my go-to phrase, like in the tunnel and before performances, is like, we literally have to do what we know how to do. So like instead of, okay, yes, I was cocky, but I also like knew when not to be.
Yeah.
So like if like I knew that my team in college was great. So like I was cocky about that. Say like my studio growing up, I was like, this is just for fun, la da 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 da. So I mean, there's a difference.
Yeah.
Be realistic with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and there's, like I said, it's like a Long Island. It takes all those ingredients to be great.
Yeah.
But controlling them and knowing what that looks like, because the last thing I want either is pushovers and or people who are one way or the other. But definitely, I don't want them to be not confident, and I don't want them to be like, oh man, like I struck out again. I missed that pass, and I don't want them to dig on themselves either. So it's like there's a fine line, and I think that's something that nowadays could definitely be looked into. There could be a whole practice a week just based on that, not having the conversation of what it is, but how to respond, how to react, like game film on the sidelines, like after each play per athlete. That's great. I might deploy that one. It's like, okay, we're gonna watch film. What the hell is this?
Yeah, that's what.
Great job. Love the high fives. It brings me to like Steve Nash, like awesome point guard. Well, probably one of the top, I think people would grill me if I said top 5, but top 5, easily top 10 point guards in the NBA, or what that has played in the NBA. He led the league in high fives. This dude was great, anywhere from 18 to probably 24 points a game, assists out the wazoo. Like this dude was good. He was confident, but he also was ass slap and high five and led the league in that. And knew how to help control he had some big personalities on some of those teams. So it's a guy like that was beloved, with as confident as he was, as competitive as he was.
Yeah.
A great role model for a lot of athletes. That's one of the ones that I think of first. Jerome Bettis is another one. It's more of that. It's kind of like we almost need to throw it back like 20 years.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of confidence there. There's a whole lot of competitiveness there. There were some knockdown dragouts. I didn't really live through a lot of the 70s. Obviously, I was born in 87. But my dad was in that era of the Steel Curtain and watching some of that stuff. And it's like, I wonder how different it was side by side now. I think we throw it back 20 years, 25 years. It's a whole lot of confidence and minimal cocky.
Yeah.
I just hope we kind of get back to that.
Yeah.
And we start, teaching that and instilling that.
Yeah, I think what's also wild, kind of on the same realm, is like they're the best teams that you watch in any sport usually aren't very confident. And it's something that I coach through right now. Like I'm blessed to coach at a school that is very gifted and just good at a lot of sports. But like walking around the halls and even talking to the people that I coach, like they don't believe it. And I'm like, what do you not understand? Like you're winning everything. Like, what do you not understand? And it's just how I don't know if it's today's day and age. I sound old, but like today's society, day and age. But like, it's wild to me. And I talk about it with them in the case of like, they finish a dance, they finish a full out, and they look to coaches. And I'm like, don't look to me for validation.
Yeah.
You know that what you did was you were either proud of it or you're not. And that's the validation you need. You don't need it from me.
Yep.
And every single time they finish a full out, they look, I say, try again.
Yeah.
And and then that happened in college too. It's just like your coaches are not your validation point. They're not the people telling you that's right and wrong and yes and no. And they're not your dog trainer. That's not how this goes.
They don't need to edify and identify you.
Yeah, no.
Like that is not your identity. And this is something that I've gone with in my kids.
Yeah.
So here's what I do. I don't know if it'll help anybody else, but even this weekend, like I feel like in these past 5 days, this has happened a lot now. So they get it.
Yeah.
And Kenton came off the ice. He got rid of his trainer. He's skating on his own now. My oldest, he's 6. He's skating on his own. He can get himself stopped. He can move around the traffic in the public skate. It's awesome. We skate for 45 minutes. He comes off. He goes, whew, man, that was a lot. He's like, but I got rid of my trainer. I went around without falling. He's like, I'm proud of myself. I have always told my kids.
I love that.
I've always told my kids before we go to bed, I said, are you proud of yourself today? It's like, yeah. And sometimes they'll ask me, are you proud of me? Absolutely, I'm proud of you. But the only person that needs to be proud of you is you.
Yeah.
And I said, you should be proud of you. You did good. You learned. You practiced. You've excelled. You're growing. And so I love that. We're on the same page with a lot of this. And I mean, it's not that we don't talk about things like that. But
we actually don't talk until we do a podcast. This is the only time we communicate.
Draw the curtain. But I think that's so true. And from a coaching and parenting perspective, it's like if they always look for us for validation, they're always part of them will always feel inadequate because inevitably one day we're gone or the sport's gone and there's nobody there to be proud of you for what you've done all your life, or that person is no longer here. They've moved on and they can't tell you they're proud of you. If we can instill from the very beginning of these teams, like, hey, you guys should all be proud of yourselves. So you can tell them you're proud, but hey, you guys should all be proud of yourselves right now. That looked awesome. That was great. And the more they hear that and the more they come up, it's like, man, Coach Aaron, it's like, I just feel like that went really good. Are you proud of yourself? Yeah, I think so. Well, you should be.
Yeah.
Like, I love that.
Yeah, we always sometimes, like if we've had a very hard practice or
that's instilling confidence.
Yeah, something like that. We like go around the circle and say like, what's one thing that you did well today that you're proud of? Because you have to say it out loud. I mean, it's the same thing of, I mean, my brother's family, like they say the best part of their day every dinner. Like it's the same thing. You have to almost trick your mind into creating a sense of confidence that you might not be able to find for yourself. Like you just have to trick yourself sometimes. And because some days it might not feel like you're really growing and learning, but you are. Yeah. It's the small things that are going to add up.
I will take, if there's one pill or shot that I would voluntarily take, it would be one in the mental department. It's like, oh man, rolled my ankle, give me a cortisone shot. No, not this guy. I wouldn't really go for that anyway, but that's what the call is. It's like, well, we got to get him back out there. It's the Super Bowl, got to play. It's like, I'll take the mental shot. Yeah. Like give me the one that's going to produce 95% more mental clarity, confidence, that edge of cocky, that Long Island cocktail in the mentality department, if you will. I will take that every time. You're 100% right. I love being able to instill that.
Yeah, something I've always also said is like you are allowed to be cocky and then turn it off. Yeah. So like if you're a big name team, I mean, like for example, my college team, like we're known in Daytona, we're known where we go, and so like we walk around and like you're told like you need to walk around like you're the shit. Yeah. Because you have to believe it down there because you are so known that it also can get in your head so fast of like everyone just wants me to fail because yes, everyone wants to beat you. Yeah. But you have to walk around there like I am the shit and no one's gonna beat us today. Right. And so like what I've told them is it's okay to wake up and like put on that like face of like I'm the baddest. Yeah, the facade of like we're like can't be touched, but then also like take it off at the end of the day and be like, okay, but like we're also so humble for what we do have.
And so maybe it's like this, because I would totally agree. It's like have a little bit of that cockiness because that will play mental games on both you and them. Look good, feel good, play good. But also too is it's like you said, knowing how to turn it off. And this is where confidence kicks in. Yes. It's like you have to perceive yourself as such. You have to display and exude as such. But at the end of the day, you better back it up. Yeah. Like you better have confidence in every move, every motion, every teammate, every thought, every beat, every pitch, every whatever it is. You better back it up. Yeah. So because if you're just going to walk around and be cocky for the sake of being cocky and be 3-30, like nah. You know, or you're going to score very, very low. You're going to get 1 star out of 5. Like, no. Yeah. Like, yeah. Now you've just declared your personal brand as such. So I totally agree.
Yeah. I mean, like I've had teams, not even just in college, like this is middle school, high school, college, it never ends. Yeah. That like will talk about things and talk about my players and dancers and stuff like that. And I'm like, the one thing I always say, I'm like, just leave it on the floor. Yeah. Like what's really going to win and what's really going to matter is how you guys perform. You know, it doesn't matter that. And then they're also not focused on themselves because they're talking about you. So who really wins there?
Yeah. The big celebrations after a sack when you're down by 30, cocky. Yeah.
Like, no, you're actually just doing your job.
Yeah, it's like, if you're down by 6 goals and you finally score one, if it's 6-0 and now it's 1, it's like, go make high fives, but some big, huge celly and like, no. Yeah. It's like, get back to work. You haven't earned that yet. Mm-hmm. You have the ability, be confident enough that you can come back, but you're celebrating for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I mean, it all starts up top too. Like, if your coaches are not exemplifying good confidence and like cockiness in a good way, then you're going to as well. So like, I know we have coaches who listen, like that's the most important part. Like I don't walk around competitions like not talking to anyone.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, hey. Like what's going to do the talking is the hard work we already did. The cherry on top is just seeing that happen.
Yeah. Just put the stunner sage on.
Yeah.
Hold your head high, shoulders back.
Yeah.
Be grateful. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, you see a lot of people who, in the dance world especially, at a dance competition, everyone's strutting all their rings.
Yeah.
But I am not going to wear 6 rings on my fingers when I have a job to do of coaching.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a confidence thing, but at the same time, like
that's arrogance.
That's not your job. Like my job is not to walk around with 6 rings on my hand and I can't even use my hand.
Right.
Because in case you're wondering, that's 2 hands.
Yeah. But here's the confidence part.
Yeah.
Ready? Take the rings with you.
Oh yeah, there's my backpack.
Let them remind you of where you've been, what you've accomplished. Because also too, what if ESPN comes up and says, "Hey, we want to do an interview with you. And we want you to wear your rings."
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great. Somebody asked for that. If you're just gonna wear them, just to wear them.
Yeah. No, they're usually in my backpack, and I usually put them where the whole team can see them. I don't tell them that I do it, but I just like set them up. Or if I'm wearing them, say I wear it to a random like event that we're doing or something, and I go to practice afterwards, I just set it on the speaker.
Yeah. There's a time and place for those things.
It's a little subliminal message too sometimes.
Yep.
Or I just hang my medal on the speaker.
Yeah. And at the same time too, there's probably a 1% rule with this. If you're 100% confident in doing that, and that's you, and that's your personal brand, and you know exactly what you're doing and why you want to do it, wear your 6 rings. You earned them. Just don't put anybody else down in the process. Let that inspire other people. Let that not build your brand, but help build the brand.
Yeah.
Because that's it too. I think that could be the alternate side. It's like, well, we earned them. Yeah, but it's all about the come from. So if that's you, then shoot for it.
Yeah.
I'll keep mine in my backpack. I'll use them at a team rally to be like, look, we've got all these. We've been here. I've been here. We've done this. We should have the utmost confidence in the ability to do whatever sport it is we're playing.
Yeah.
Because we have a history. I almost beep LFG, folks. Yeah. Like, let's go.
Yeah, more power to you. I can't even use my hand when I have them on.
Whoa. Hey, you're on the knife's edge now. Awesome. Well, another great episode.
Yeah.
Love that. Answered all kinds of questions. At least at the end of the day, Erin and I both hope that this just instills some better thought processes, some perspectives, and stimulates some questions. I think the Ask Better Questions, Get Better Answers segment is, we've kind of answered a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I think even that subliminally, like we have questions that come in from clients that we have, and a lot of that was on, how do you speak to your team, and that's part of that. You should be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
What's your thought on the arrogance and cockiness, and that's kind of why we deep dove into that. So, but just super inspired to keep getting this out as our viewership continues to go up. We thank you guys, and again, if you let us know how you found the podcast, or do us a favor, however you found it, share it with somebody else, tell them to check it out. And look forward to our communities that are being launched at the beginning of this year. We have training programs that we're getting ready to launch for on the Pure Athlete side of things. And so we'll do a whole episode on that probably within the next week or so, and start to give people some info on how we're doing what we're doing. There's so many great training performance facilities out there. That's not what we're trying to be. We are trying to serve each student athlete for who they are and get raw data on each athlete we see, so that then if we are not that resource, we have, Pierre Desir, who's on the podcast, has Hustle and Heart, a football specific, and for really taking kids to the next level in their position in football. So we collaborate with him with some of the things we do. The one that's coming out this week, I will keep that kind of under wraps, but we can collaborate with him. We're not trying to make them, the pitcher, the shortstop, we are trying to give them the proper health care for their body, biomechanics, metabolic systems, and that's how we're going to collaborate. We're not going to be the big training, huge facility of, get me under 4.3, you get me under 4.2, 40s, and maybe one day, we can all roll up and collaborate and make one big brand out of it. But right now, from more the healthcare side, we are going to be launching some great things and doing some awesome things in 2024. So stay tuned, share the podcast, communicate with us. Hope you have a great start to 2024. See ya.